Not fun. Oh, like you're not sitting with her all day. That's how my mom used to feel. Between the wedding and your mom and real estate, you don't have a minute.
God bless me when I didn't have opposition.
That's true.
That's the first thing I did was say prayer. Yes. My case is broken.
You want to use mine?
I don't ever use it. Ain't got a big one.
Call the meeting to order. Let's pray. Dear Lord, we're glad to gather here again tonight. We just pray that you be with us. Guide us and direct us for the best decisions of our city. Lord, thank you for each council member present here tonight. Thank you for all our citizens here in Monroe. Bless this meeting in your name. Amen. Let the record reflect all council members present, with the exception of Ms. Dixon. We need an approval of the agenda.
So moved.
Have a motion by Ms. Mountain. Second. Second by Mr. Eckhart. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Any opposed? That passes. We also need an approval of the consent agenda.
Move to approve.
Motion by Mr. Little.
Second.
Second by Ms. Scott. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Any opposed? That passes. Moving into public forum. Nobody signed up for public comments. We'll move to public hearing. We have a zoning variance at 955 East Spring Street, Patrick.
Mr. Mayor. This is petition number 15-00199. The applicant, Hassan Master Eichmann, requested a variance to allow a sign to be illuminated internally at 955 East Spring Street. Existing zoning on the property is B3 and the acreage is 0.61 acres. The extraordinary exceptional conditions pertaining to subject property cover size of topography or none. The literal application of this ordinance does not create unnecessary hardship. The variance will not cause substantial detriment to public good or impair the purpose or intent of this ordinance. The variance does not confer upon the property of the applicant any special privilege denied to other properties in the district. The special circumstances surrounding the request for the variance are the result of acts by the applicant. The variance is a request to permit the use of land, buildings, or structures which is not permitted by right or by conditional use in the district. The zoning proposal is not consistent with respect to the design standards and design criteria adopted by the city. The variance is not the minimum variance that will make possible an economically viable use of the land, building, or structure. A couple of things, I passed these out. This should have one in front of each of you. The sign they had before their current sign would have been conforming to our new sign ordinance. And just as another point, no permits were purchased for refacing of their pylon sign or for this sign that they're asking to have internal illumination. If they had come to us for permitting, we would advise them ahead of time. The recommendation from the code office is to deny the approval of allowing internal illumination for this sign.
Okay, is there anyone in the audience want to speak for this zoning variance? Okay, come to the podium. State your name, address, and you have 5 minutes.
Yes, sir. 955 East Spring Street. Hassan Master, with the owners of the townhouse. And I feel like
Can you speak up, please?
It'll help the business in there, more if you turn that on, and that's something.
Anybody have any questions? Okay, thank you. Anyone else like to speak for this zoning variance? Does anyone like to speak against this zoning variance? Okay, hearing none, we'll close the public hearing on this, and bring it before the council. Need to entertain a motion.
Motion to deny.
With a motion to deny by Ms. Malcolm,
Second.
second by Mr. Purvis. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Any opposed? That zoning variance is denied. Item B, zoning variance for 786 West Spring Street. Patrick.
Sir. This is petition number 15-00202. The applicant, Pinnacle Custom Signs, requests a variance to allow a wall sign to be illuminated internally. The request is for 786 West Spring Street. The road is express. Property consists of 11.92 acres fronting on West Spring Street. I have to read through this litany of things, so forgive me. Extraordinary and exceptional home conditions pertaining to the subject property because of size, shape, or topography are none. The literal application of this ordinance does not create an unnecessary hardship. The variance would not cause substantial detriment to public good or repair the purposes or intent of the ordinance. The variance does confer upon the property of the applicant a special privilege denied to other property within the district. The special circumstances surrounding the request for the variance are the result of acts by the applicant. The variance is a request to permit the use of land, building, or structures which is not permitted by right or by conditional use in the district. The zoning proposal is not consistent with construction and design standards and design criteria adopted by the city of Monroe. The variance is not the minimum variance that will make possible an economically viable use of the land, building, or structure. Since our work session meeting last week, we revised our recommendation based on the input of the council and the planning commission to recommend to allow for the square footage increase, which is also part of this application, and to deny the internal light. Due to the fact that they are so far off the road, we do see a reason for larger signage, but since our desire is to move away from internal light signs, we want to recommend to deny that portion of the variance.
I will open this part of the public hearing up. Does anyone in the audience like to speak for this zoning variance on 786 West Spring Street? Okay, please state your name and address, and you'll have 5 minutes.
Mr. Mayor, council members, my name is Don Conklin. I'm the owner of Pinnacle Custom Signs at 5170 Bellwood Court in Beaufort, Georgia. Been hired by Roses to produce their sign and come down and install it, and read through all the variances and everything like that, and I appreciate the recommendation to have a larger sign because of how far back it is. Our concern, though, is that if you look at our property over there, there's other people in this complex, I think you all know this complex over here, all have internally lighted signs right now. And actually one of our competitors, which is Family Dollar, has an internally lighted sign right now. Now, I do understand that there is a move to go away from unlighted signs. I do understand that. Unfortunately, how far back this sign is if we went ahead and used a gooseneck light or some sort of external lighting, as far back from the road it still will not show up. There's no way really for it to show up. The other concern I have is if someone's driving by this at night, especially in the fall when it's dark at 5 o'clock and they see Family Dollar sign all lit up and Rose's sign not being lit up, they might come to the conclusion that Rose's is closed and Family Dollar is open. We believe that puts us at a significant disadvantage from that standpoint. Also, from a brand standard standpoint, all of our signs are of this standard, the Rose's standard, as well as being internally lighted. And this is the way the Rose's sign lays out. If you guys have that. one of those extenuating circumstances about people in the complex are competitive disadvantage with distance from the road. That's why we're asking for the variance on the internal illumination.
Can you clarify one more time that you don't think there's any way to do external lighting that would make it show up?
Not that far back, not from a gooseneck lighting overhanging standpoint, because of the fact that the amount of lumens that you point down at that from that far of a distance isn't really going to show up unless we put a whole row of lights there. And if we do that, it's going to diminish from what you guys are trying to do. We're trying to have, lighting that's not in your face lighting. I think that will take away from it more than it would actually add to it.
The internal lighting that he's speaking of, Patrick, they had those lightings before the ordinance was rewritten. Is that correct?
The other store.
For
The other stores.
For the other stores, yes. And
Okay,
basically,
so that's why they
every
have them.
internally illuminated sign in the city right now is an existing non-conforming sign. And as businesses come, as businesses leave and then other people take the spaces, we'll ask them to conform to this ordinance as well. Just another point too that I made to them on this is that with the gooseneck lighting, if they used a more highly reflective material, I don't know if y'all have seen it even like traffic signs that have this new highly reflective material on it, they look like they are internally lit when light hits them. So I don't know if they can use reflective material and get their visibility or not, but that's another possibility.
Does anyone have any more questions? Thank you. Anyone else in the audience would like to speak for this zoning variance at 786 West Spring Street? Does anyone like to speak against the zoning variance at 786 West Spring Street? Okay, hearing none, we'll close this part of the public hearing and bring it before the council. Need to entertain a motion.
I'd just say that as difficult as it's going to be moving forward sometimes, we're going to have to move in the right direction as our new code mandates. So therefore, I would propose the motion that we do grant the variance on the increase in the size of the lettering, but deny the internally lighted portion of the variance request.
I have a motion by Mr. Purvis,
Second.
second by Ms. Malcolm. Any more discussion?
I have a question, Mayor. My question is to Patrick. Patrick, you were saying that the older stores are what you would say is kind of grandfathered in or whatever. Say if Family Dollar or whoever, Quality Food or whatever, were there and they needed a new sign. Then if they purchased a new sign, it would have to conform to...
Yeah, if they replace their current sign, then they would have to.
Okay.
If they reface their current sign or just maintain it, then they can continue to use it like it is. But if they completely replace their sign, they would have to conform to it.
Okay.
Any more questions? Okay, hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, zoning variance is denied. Item C is conditional use 1554 South Broad Street.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This petition number 15-00208. The applicant Heart Fit Kickboxing LLC requests a zoning action to allow a kickboxing studio as a conditional use on the property located at 1554 South Broad Street. It's currently in M1 zone and it's only 6.683 acres. The extraordinary and exceptional conditions pertaining to the subject property because of size, shape, or topography are none. The literal application of this ordinance does create an unnecessary hardship. The conditional use would not cause substantial detriment to public good or impair the purposes or intent of this ordinance. The conditional use does not confer upon the property of the applicant any special privilege denied to other properties in the district. Special circumstances surrounding the request for the conditional use are not the result of the applicant. Acts by the applicant, excuse me. The conditional use is not a request to permit a use of land, buildings, or structures which is not permitted by right or by conditional use in the district. The zoning proposal is consistent with the construction and design standards and design criteria adopted by the city of Monroe. Conditional use is not the minimum use that will make possible an economically viable use of the land, buildings, or structure. We're recommending approval for this condition of use for a couple of reasons, the main one being that it is a business that is going to be fronting on a highway, and B3, which is our highway business zoning, would actually allow this use. The conditional zoning in an M1 zone piece of property would go with the applicant. So if they move, or if they're approved and then they move, then that conditional use will go with them. And anybody else who wanted a conditional use would have to apply for it themselves.
Okay. I'll open this part of the public forum up. Is the property owner, does anybody want to speak for this conditional use on 1554 South Broad Street?
Where that man with that car lot?
My name's Tim Hart. I'm the one that applied for this, $15. My wife and I have been working on this project for about a year, looking for the right place. Well, the right place came up, and it's the 1554 South Broad Street. It's perfect. We'd love to, open up shop here in Monroe, so I just ask you guys to approve it.
Okay, thank you. Anyone have any questions for Mr. Hart? Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Anyone else in the audience like to speak for this conditional use at 1554 South Broad Street? Anyone like to speak against this conditional use at 1554 South Broad Street? Okay, hearing none, we'll close this part of the public hearing and move it before the council. Need to entertain a motion.
I move approval of this 1554 South Broad Street with conditional use as presented.
Motion by Mr. Bradley.
Second.
Second by Ms. Dixon. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That passes the conditional use. Item 3 is new business, resolution and contract for right-of-way LCI.
Mayor, I'll take that. I'm going to ask our engineers on this project to come give us an update. And this is the North Broad LCI project. And then after that, City Attorney Mr. Preston will read the resolution to adopt to accept the right-of-way contract.
Hello, my name is Robert Rowan, and I'm with Keck and Wood, who is the design engineer on the North Broad Street LCI project. I'll just give you all an update on what we have done up to this point, where we are now, and what needs to be done in order to move closer to construction of the project. Back in 2012 is when the ARC call for projects came out. The city submitted an application for funding for this project, and that was approved for funding in late 2012. We started working on the design of the project in August of 2013. We started the concept phase of the project to define the scope, project limits, cost estimates, and budgets. That was completed in October of 2013. Then the environmental phase started, and our environmental consultant surveyed the project area, identified potential historic properties, potential soil contamination from underground storage tanks, and those kind of issues. The environmental document was approved in July of 2014. We then started preparing the preliminary plans. And these plans were developed far enough to define the right-of-way and easements that would be required for the project. And those were approved in October of 2014. Then we prepared the right-of-way plans. And there's no new right-of-way required for construction of the project, only easements for grading associated with tying driveways and shoulders into the new sidewalk elevations. These were approved in February of this year, and the next step for this is to actually acquire the right-of-way. There are 46 parcels that we have to acquire easements from for this. Assuming this right-of-way agreement is approved and executed between the city and GDOT, we expect to get notice to proceed for right acquisition later this month. You never really know how long the acquisition is going to take, because there's a lot of variables dealing with each individual property owner. But we are scheduling about 12 months for acquisition from these 26 owners. During this time, we will finalize the construction drawings, and once all the right-of-way has been acquired, there's a couple more agreements to be executed between the city and GDOT and some certifications that have to be executed. And once that's complete, we will be allowed to bid the project out. So we're expecting maybe the first quarter of 2017, the project will be bid out, and construction would then begin in the second quarter of 2017.
Any questions?
Yeah, Robert. The acquisition of right-of-way, I know you're allowed in 12 months. Let's assume it only takes half that time. Would that cut the time by 6 months, if we did it in 6 months instead of 12? Would it cut the time by 6 months on when the bid could be let and construction started?
Potentially. If right-of-way is acquired ahead of time, we would then request that we are allowed to bid it sooner than scheduled. Assuming GDOT has funding available, then we would be allowed to bid it. And considering that we're scheduled for the first quarter of 2017, if we're 6 months ahead of schedule, it'd still be in the same fiscal year, so there would be good potential to bid it sooner than 2017.
I think we're all real anxious to see that work
Yes.
proceed. And so let's try to make this right-of-ways happen.
Any other questions for Robert? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Russell?
This is a resolution by the City of Monroe, State of Georgia, County of Walton, City of Monroe, be resolved by the Mayor and Council of the City of Monroe, Georgia. It is hereby resolved that the foregoing attached agreement, the Elgin Project PI-NO 0011641, State Route 11 from CS 654 Maryville Street, 2.8 miles north of CS 730 Maple Drive, located in the City of Monroe, be entered into by the Mayor and Council of the City of Monroe, Georgia, and that Greg Thompson as its mayor, and Renee Prater as the city clerk, be and they are hereby authorized to direct execute the same for and behalf of said mayor and city council of the City of Monroe. That's the resolution, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Any questions for the type of motion? Hearing none, we need a motion.
Move to approve.
Motion by Mr.
Second.
Wilson, second by Ms. Scott. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That passes. And with no other business, we need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Scott. Second.
Second.
Second by Ms. Mountain. All in favor?
Aye.
Meeting adjourned. Thank y'all very much. About 10 minutes break, and then we'll start the finance committee.